Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, today's show going to be a very brief show, just going to be a short show, mostly me doing a monologue. And I'm going to be talking about the queen of conservative media, of the alternative conservative media, right? Candace Owens. Yeah. She is not a very smart person. She's not a very bright person. And she has revealed this in a clip that's been circulating on social media for the past few days, right? It just shows her lack of intellectual depth, her lack of journalistic rigor, her lack of you know, the ability to do the most basic research in anything that she is talking about. So most of the time she just goes off her feelings. She just goes, how does this thing sound to me? She tries to use common sense to even analyze complex issues. And that's the problem with people like Candace Owens. They do very fine when they come to tackling cultural issues like the woke stuff or what is a woman, gender, trans, all those issues, because those issues are really common sense issues, right? A man is a man, a woman is a woman, and there's no way to spin that. So they do very well on things like that. But when it becomes a little bit more complex, then they are out of their depth. And Candace Owens is somebody who is mo- most of the time out of her depth in about the things that she talks about. And there was someone who recognized this flaw in Candace Owens a long time ago, and that's Coleman Hughes. Coleman Hughes actually was able to diagnose the problems with Candace Owens in an interview he did years ago, which I'm just going to show, and then we'll take it from there. Before I show that clip that exposes Candace Owens for our, not so brightness, or that she's really that dumb. So let me share my screen and we'll take it from there. All right.
What do you make of Candace Owens' language around this? Because she's very, very polarizing and has said some quite kind of provocative things around race.
I think she is very unserious in the sense that, I've seen her say things without any evidence of her feeling a burden to back it up with a fact. Like Richard Spencer is a Democratic plant. When challenged on Joe Rogan about why she thinks climate change isn't real, she doesn't even have a single study to back it up. She's not a smart climate skeptic, or it's just her gut feeling against the view that she thinks is wrong. And when asked to back it up, often has nothing. But she seems to feel no burden to back those opinions up with evidence.
All right. So this is just a little clip showing some of the thought process of Candace Owens, analyzing what the problems are with this woman exactly. And yes, she is an unserious person, and she does go off her feelings most of the time, right? She doesn't even do the basic of research. And this showed in an interview with what's his name? Our interview with this guy, Andrew Tate, right? Where she was claiming that the reason that Tate was being persecuted, quote unquote, by by the Matrix and all that was because of things he did 10 years ago. When literally Tate was doing those things a year before that interview. So if she had done a little bit of research, she would have known that. If she had even taken time to read the charge sheet against the Tates, she would have known that. But she couldn't be bothered to. Now, my problem with people like Candace Owens is that even at times when we agree, right, I really like to understand the thought process. How did you get to this point? How did you get to this conclusion? I like you to show your working, right? And for me, I think she just looks at issues. She just look at, okay, what's this person saying about this thing? What's this person saying about this thing? How do I feel about it? Oh, this sounds right to me, so it must be right. That's what I think she does, right? So instead of trying to understand, instead of trying to go through the processes of saying, okay, I don't believe, okay, let's say climate change, for example. I think climate change is overblown. I don't believe in climate change. But what is your reason for, what's the evidence for that? Have you taken time to actually study material? Have you listened to people, experts in the field? Have you done any sort of basic research to back up what your positions are, what your thoughts are, have you done any of that? Most of the time, she hasn't. So even if I agree with you on something, I really want to know how you got to that place. Because this clip I'm going to show you now is Candace Owens talking about the Israeli Palestinian conflict, right? And she is on the side of the Palestinians as she thinks that Israel is on the wrong here. I think she's right. I think Israel is wrong here. I think I am on the side of the Palestinians as far as the bigger conflict goes, not as far as the attacks are going anyway. But the reason that she gives for why she thinks Israel is wrong is so stupid and so ignorant. Like, this is a mistake that not even a someone in it's so stupid. It's like it's crazy that she would make this kind of rookie mistake. But guess what? Rookie mistakes is all she's been doing. Rookie mistakes is what she's been doing all her life. So I'm going to play this clip and then give my short thoughts on it and then end the stream. Right. So let me show.
My grandfather grew up in a segregated South. And so when I'm walking through Jerusalem and you see, and they say these are the Muslim quarters, this is where the Muslims are allowed to live, that doesn't feel like a bastion of freedom to me. So I guess.
Oh, I don't think it's where they're allowed to live in Jerusalem. I think it's that there's an Armenian quarter. It's not saying the Armenians can only live here. It's that there are communities, just like there's a Jewish community in Jersey here, and there's a Muslim community in here. I don't think,
You can almost see the stupidity flying out of her, right? When she realized how much she had messed up, right? So she thinks that there's discrimination in Israel, right? She thinks that Israel is discriminating against Arabs or Muslims, right? But the reason she thinks that is happening, of course, she's right. I think Israel is discriminating against Arabs, and I'm going to tell you why I think so anyway. But the reason she thinks that happens is because she went one time to Jerusalem and she was told this is the Arab quarters, these are the Jewish quarters, these are Armenian quarters. So in her mind, she thinks that Israel has a place specifically that they restrict Arabs to, that Arabs are only allowed to live in certain areas in Jerusalem. That's just crazy. That is just crazy, but because that's not what actually happens in Jerusalem. There are Jewish quarters, there are Arab quarters, there are Armenian quarters, like the other guy was saying. Just as you have in any country, just as you have in any city. If you go to America, you probably will have a place where you have more Chinese people, probably will have a place where you have more Latino people, probably will have a place where you have more Black people. That's not because people are, they're restricted in that place. That's not because people are restricted. And she was trying to compare it to segregation in the South of America, right? Or that this is akin to segregation. But that's not exactly what it is. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think, yes, that Israel discriminates against there's discrimination in Israel. People think Israel is a democracy. I think it's a democracy in name only. For example, interfaith marriages are not legal in Israel. That is totally illiberal. So it means if you're a Christian, you can't get married to a Jew. You can actually, but it's not recognized as a legal entity. If you're a Muslim, you can get married to a Jew as well. It's not recognized as a legal entity. That's fundamentally illiberal. That's fundamentally undemocratic. There is almost like a racial hierarchy in Israel, with the Ashkenazi Jews at the top and the Ethiopian Jews at the bottom, right? The Ethiopian Jews are the Jews from Ethiopia, dark skinned. And there was this report that came out of recent that showed that women from the Ethiopian Jewish community were given contraceptives to prevent them from reproducing without their knowledge and without their consent. They also face a lot of discrimination in terms of getting housing, getting jobs, and so many other things. And there are some cities, or there are some settlements that there is this, oh, we need to maintain the Jewish character of this settlement. So houses are not given to people who are not Jews. So those are some of the things that you can point to say, oh, yes, there is discrimination in Israel. Not to go to a city which is known for housing people of all faiths, people of all. Jerusalem is one of the most, I would think, the most diverse places in Israel. You have Jews, you have Arabs, you have Christians, you have so many people there in Jerusalem. So it's not as restrictive and say maybe other parts of Israel. You can see just how myopic her analysis is. She looked at that and said, oh, because there are Arab quarters in Jerusalem, this means that Arabs are only allowed to live in certain areas in Jerusalem. Okay, this means that Israel it is discriminatory, right? So, Esther, you said that Candace Owens is allowed to have an opinion based off of her personal experience. Of course, she's allowed to, and I'm allowed to call out how nonsensical our opinion is based off of our experiences. She said, I think Charles should just note the key points he talks about so we can comment on them if we get the chance. Well, the key points I was talking about, when I started, I talked about, how Candace Owens and her ilks, how they are very good with culture war stuff. They are good in, sticking it to the libs, right? Because, most of those libs, most of those activists, they're dumb to begin with, right? What is a woman? Mouthwash can only be as good as what is a woman. That's the zenith of mouthwash. And because that's a very low hanging fruit, right? When it comes to complex issues, these people don't know what the hell they are talking about. They're just going about so superficial level of analysis, no academic rigor, no journalistic rigor, nothing. They just go based off of their feelings, right? And these are the people who tell you, oh, facts don't care about your feelings. They couldn't know facts if it smacked them in the face. They couldn't know facts aside from saying that, okay, this person is obviously a man and this person is obviously a woman. And many things in life are much more complex than trying to use your common sense to, make sense out of it. So I understand that there are some things that fall within the sphere of common sense. There are some things that you just can't use common sense to analyze. There are things that are complex. You have different moving parts at the same time, that you have to look at it from a wider perspective for you to be able to get, something like that. And one other thing that someone is talking about, Ben Shapiro, Ben Shapiro with his Judeo-Christian tradition. This lady, what's her name? I think Ayan Hersey Ali, she's converted to Christianity, and she was saying something like, oh, I'm now a Christian and all that, Judeo-Christian tradition and all that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the idea of this would be a show for another time though, but the idea, there is no such thing as a Judeo-Christian tradition. That's just a made-up 19th century American word to describe something that doesn't exist. The history of Judaism and Christianity for a very long time, they've not been cordial. Christian Europe was very anti-Semitic. They hated Jews, they killed Jews, they persecuted Jews for centuries. So this familiarity that they're forming now, oh, Judeo-Christian or Judeo-Christian tradition, it's just a revisionist version of what history is, and of what the facts are. But that's what people like this do, because they want to create a bulwark against Islam, right? Which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, right? But that's not exactly what it is. Essay, you are saying this is unbelievable. I can't understand why Charles is attacking them without any evidence. Oh, so all the things I've said so far, there's no evidence of what I've said. See, you're not going to believe what you don't want to believe anyway, so that's fine. I'm not I'm not requiring you to believe anything that I've said, right? You can take up what I've said one after the other and tell me where I'm wrong and try to prove that I'm wrong. If you have a case, if your case makes sense, I'm very willing to change my mind. I'm not dogmatic. I'm not someone who will say, oh, this is my position, so I'm not going to change it. So whatever that is. So the point I'm getting at is Candace Owens needs to do much more. She has to be much more rigorous than simply looking at things on the superficial level and saying, oh, this is why this thing is, or this is why that thing is. Yeah. So in my opinion, she is not very bright. I've been seeing her takes on Israel, on Twitter and all that. And yeah, I mostly agree. But the foundation of all the things she's saying is shaky. Doesn't make any sense. All right. So, guys, I think this is a good place to bring this stream to a close. Like, share, subscribe to this channel. Please don't forget to check out my crime fiction novel. The link is in the description of this video. And you can also support this channel with super chats, super stickers, or becoming a Patreon of this channel or a channel member. Sweet Generous is asking, so this is what Judeo-Christian means. Well, that would be a conversation for another time. I want to do okay, you say we are part of the same Bible. That's what the Judeo-Christian means. Well, really not part of the same Bible. The Jews obviously do not respect the New Testament. They don't see it as some as part of the scriptures. So there's a problem with that as well. So but that's a conversation for another day. So well, that would be all for now. So it's bye for now. Catch you guys in another live stream.